Welcome to Gajali, your entertainment show where we get up and close and personal with some of the well known personalities in Goa. My name is Frankie Fernandez. I'm based in Melbourne, Australia. My guest at the other end is based in Marga in Panjim. My guest this evening is someone who really doesn't need much of introduction. Uh, After serving 4 decades in the music scene, or roughly over 4 decades in the music scene, uh, certainly this week, through a Facebook post, he said, it's time to say adios to music. My guest is Ravi Coutinho, formerly with the band Music Man, and thereafter with the band Pure Magic. Music lovers in Goa and fans across the globe were left in shock when you announced in your social media post, an eventful part of my journey ends. Immense gratitude to all who made it wonderful. Thank you for the support and faith. God bless. And since then, Ravi, hundreds of them have been commenting on your Facebook post on your sudden decision. It also reminds me of the track from the Eagles, the song Hotel California, and the lyrics, as you know, you can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave it. Ravi Coutinho, let's hear it from the horse's mouth.
It actually began in around March earlier this year when I realized that we were in lockdown and nothing was going to happen thereafter for at least a couple of months. And it actually was like that. So I was stuck in and trying to make up my mind what next. But having said that, I need to also tell you that this bug was creeping in very slowly, almost around 3 years ago, because it's been a long innings, Frankie, and I have been kind of at the helm of singing in the band, if I might use that expression, handling everything single-handedly until at some point we decided to get a girl singer who then shared the load with me of about 5 or 6 songs in our entire repertoire. So it was still me. And then I used to get these bouts of throat failure, again, if I may use that expression, where I just couldn't more than whisper. And so at this point, I started looking back, and then I realized that it has been a long innings, and I think it's fair that I could now stand outside and look to what's happening inside, which is when I decided. I still held on, though, for some time, until I realized that it was time to tell the boys in the band at this point, so that they could make other arrangements if they were required, like maybe filling my place in, or whether they decided to go it alone with just the 4 of them still left in the band or whatever. So yes, I called Sergey, who was a bass player and kind of at the helm of affairs in Pure Magic at that time, and I told him about it. So his instant reaction was, take some time, Ravi. We are in lockdown, and maybe in 2 months you will decide differently. And I told him, no, Sergey, I don't want to take any time. I have decided. And well, he took it very nicely, actually. And if there was anything that was stirring inside or within, he didn't show anything to me, So on that note, I ended my conversation with him. Well, it was a long conversation, but this is more or less the gist of it, that I intended to take a break or quit the active music scene. The next person was Agnello, and his instant reaction was, the way things are going, I think in a few months you'll hear the same thing from me. So that's how it went. Then of course they regrouped, if I may say that, and they started rehearsals, and Pure Magic continues now, albeit without me, as they say. Now, what happened at that point was they did a gig on the 12th of this month, and they uploaded some photographs in which I wasn't obviously a part of, and so I started getting texts which were pretty alarming. Are you all right? Is something wrong? Are you not keeping good health? And things. I even got a few calls, and that's when I thought that I needed to tell everyone officially through maybe a social media platform. So I used Facebook, and that was the post which you just read out when we began. Yeah. So the
And
pandemic is one of the main reasons, and long innings is the second one.
all right. So we got it from the horse's mouth. What exactly prompted Ravi Coutinho to say adios to music? But that's not the end of it, I'm pretty sure.
No, it's not. It's not the end. It's the end for now. It's the end for
Okay.
now. I'd like to seriously, Frankie, imagine nearing 38 years of Christmas outside the house. And I thought this time I can have it in the house.
Wishful thinking that was.
Wishful
Uh,
thinking.
well, you've always been an inspiration to many musicians in Goa as well as India who looked upon you as a role model. Ravi, your enthusiasm and persona was enough to set the stage virtually on fire. Some said it was unexpected. With you, not with pure magic now. How do you see pure magic moving forward?
Pure Magic, well, the guys who still continue in the band are an absolutely talented bunch. Okay, Sergey Gudino on bass guitar, he's a rocking horse with tons of experience. Agnello on drums has also got tons of experience and his innings with many different bands. And three newcomers actually now. We have a girl who's called Siani. She's uber talented. A guy called Marlon, who's our lead guitarist and the second singer now, who's also very talented, and Conrad, who is on keyboards, who's someone also who's very talented. I'm sure they'll make it. Um, Initially, yes, you do miss the presence of this guy who occupied that mic in the middle of the stage because it has been many years. Pure Magic itself, I think, would have been 25 years this year,
Oh,
and then before that there was Music Man, and the same
yeah.
position in the middle. So yes, it will take some time.
Now, as one of your fan posted on Facebook, as on stage you were like Harry Bolfront. All right. My imagination of you goes back over a decade, maybe 2 decades back. Ravi as the frontman of Music Man uh, with the bandana and the wristband. You in fact set up a unique style for musicians, and I faintly recollect some of the musicians, younger musicians, tried to copy you. Okay,
Yeah.
now there are many youngsters who look at you as a teacher. What would your advice be to them?
Um, it started for me in this manner. Okay, I had some influences that began as long back as the Beatles, Cliff Richard, and then of course came in Freddie Mercury, and finally the big hit Dire Straits, which I think Pure Magic went on to emulate for a long time. And that was the place where I actually got my headband idea from. It was from Mark Knopfler, the main singer of Dire Straits, that is. And the wristband, that was my own. Um, to an extent, yes, I had a very close friend at that time who was sort of connected with the fashion industry in Goa. And he's the one who kept, egging me on. Why don't you change your hairstyle to this? How about this earring here? And how about this, this outfit here? And why don't we go to Bombay and shop for some more clothes? Because your stage appearance has to be like this at this show and like this at that show. And that's how it began. Uh, a friend of mine, Blasio from Sky High, mentioned it as something like this. He said, "You introduced fashion to Goan music." Now, I'm not sure I'm responsible for that entirely, but to some extent, yes, I did pay attention to dressing because it is an important part of how you present yourself. The other part, which I think that I could advise the youngsters that are coming up, is there is no bus to catch, just hard work to do, practice as much as possible, as much as possible. The money follows when you follow your passion and you do it perfectly, then I think everything else follows. Things fall into place. So
Absolutely.
sincerity and dedication.
Absolutely. Uh, on that note, Ravi, I'd like to ask you, over the years, I've especially seen in Goa or even other places, groups, young groups tend to split every season. Uh, I might exaggerate with that, saying that they split every season, but that was not the case with Music Man when it split, and thereafter with Pure Magic. So, what was the catalyst that held all together to perform as one unit for 25 years as Pure Magic?
In a nutshell, see, when you begin as a school student painting instruments, trying to name imaginary names to the band that you're going to be part of, and how your guitar is going to look, and how you're going to sound when you sing, and how you're going to pronounce your words. And so then you pay very special attention to your English teacher. I think is a very strong beginning, for something that's going to take up a good part of your life. And so when it comes to something like that, dedication does not come from changing sides, because then you're a rolling stone that gathers no moss. And what I thought was being with the same set or the team would help you to grow, learning each other and learning each other's personalities, and accepting each other with your weaknesses and strengths was what went strongly for me. And we grew into friends, in a manner of speaking, extended family also. So we were a part of everything we did outside of music as well. So obviously the next thing was, see you at the next gig. And what time are we meeting? 6 o'clock. So yeah, obviously I was going to the next gig, and that continued for that many years. Until at some point, I guess priorities come in, and not everybody can give it the same amount of importance and dedication, because you are looking at other interests or planning to diversify, which is what happens every now and then. Now, what you're talking about among the youngsters is something like what happens almost every season. But that again, I could cite so many examples about the youngsters, and probably how they think that it's very easy, but it's not. And it's getting increasingly difficult now with the new rules that are coming in, the governments that keep changing. And I am aware, as you must be aware, of this Madhya Pradesh sound law, which I have no clue how it crept into the Goan music scene, and that kind of uprooted that entire culture of our full night dances, weddings, and beach shows. Beach shows used to be a very important part of Goan entertainment as well, but you don't have them anymore, or maybe just one or two every year. So yeah, uh, I think that kind of camaraderie is what keeps a band going that long, when you become friends and extended family.
In fact, you've virtually answered my next question, and that was 40 years into the music scene. Uh, we've seen music, for example, beach shows happening 360 days of the year. Okay, except that little bit lean season during the Lent season. But other than that, there have been like shows happening every day, and no doubt Goa is a party destination. Over the year, this seems to have declined considerably. Okay, uh,
Yes, it has.
how would you react to that? And
Um,
mind you, I'm asking you because uh, say you had to be doing 300 shows in a year, and suddenly it's dropped down to say 100 shows. The revenue has definitely been cut over there.
yes,
Okay.
yes, yes. But there are external reasons for this, frankly, and the external reasons are government rules and regulations that keep changing, and tax structures and things which I'm not really very strongly aware of, but I hear that the tax structures are changing, and organizers have to pay fantastic amounts obviously they're going to think twice about organizing something that's not going to fetch them profits, because um, in the end, everybody has to get something out of the organizing, for the efforts they put in and stuff like that. Yeah. So if the tax structures kept changing, and so yeah, obviously the number of shows kept decreasing. But then, as you said, Goa is a party destination, but it wasn't a party destination for everybody except Goans returning from maybe working on board ship or being in the Gulf or wherever other Goans were located. Always at Christmas or a wedding in the family or the holiday season and things like. Yes, in that respect, it was a party destination for Goans coming in to be with their counterparts and families and cousins and everything else.
Exactly.
Slowly, it started that this extended to other people from the rest of the country and even from the rest of the world coming into Goa to probably have a little bit of a slice of the entertainment cake in Goa. So yeah, so people did start coming in, and then I think so many other things started creeping in, maybe like the abuse of alcohol, um, drugs being introduced in the situation, probably, and then the government started taking even stricter measures to control all these things. So I think that when you think that stricter measures means increasing the taxes, thereby reducing the number of beach shows and dances that take place, yes, the revenue will go down for everybody who's connected. The organizers, including and including the bands that were a part of the entertainment, the MCs, you were a part of that scene also, you would know, and things like that. Yes. So external factors leading to this, and we had to deal with it. You're right, though. You're right, though. One could make a decent earning out of being in the music scene at one point, but I don't think that it's like that anymore.
All right. Absolutely fine. Uh, the other question I needed to ask you is in terms of the music itself, the music that was created way back in the, uh, say, early 80s, and the music that's been played now. Uh, you've gone through it, all of it. Let's hear it from you. How do you take it? I'm talking generally the live music scene.
You want to know how it's changed from then to now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Um, at that point in time, the Goans wanted a Michael Jackson song to sound like Michael Jackson. You know, so there was no question of remix. There was no question of using sequences. Uh, well, some kind of aids, maybe, in terms of sound. You could add a new sound on your drums electronically and all those things, yes, but it was still live music. And then crept in this time in music that would have been around mid 80s to the 90s, where two guys in the international circuit called themselves, for example, let me just for example name George Michael and Andrew Ridgely, who had this duo called Wham. And everybody
Yes.
would wonder, how can two people become a band? There's no
Uh,
drums, there's no bass, but that's not how it is. We see the two of them who head the band and who are the brainchild of that. I mean, the band is their brainchild. So you see these two guys there in front, and for Goans, it was very difficult to understand. There's no drums, there's no bass, there's no stuff. So we went through that as well. But behind the scenes, there was something called this this beast called a sequencer that suddenly came in to the picture.
exactly.
Where you could program your drums and program your bass and program your everything and play just a single guitar and sound like a band. You know. So I guess that also, and like everything changes in time, bands started using sequences here as well. But the guys who were in the band at that time with me in the Music Man decided that we were not going to use sequences. And so we continued with live music. And yes, there were errors, which then made it sound human as well. Uh,
Absolutely.
an error or two here and there made it sound human. It made it sound like it was you. There were times when I lost my voice because of continuous singing, sometimes 3 gigs a day, even 4 gigs a day. And obviously, you're not going to survive with conditions like dew and dust and and the other little temptations that musicians succumb to. That's cold, chilled beers and
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so your voice does take its beating, and then finally it packs up, because it's not a machine. So things like that happened, and other bands, many other bands, they started introducing a gadget called a digital audio tape, which I'm told that you could play in background along with the sequencer and play along with it with the rest of the band, that is, and still sound like a band. That maybe 8 piece or 10 piece when you're just five of you on stage, you know. So that was a later part, and then finally that died again, and now it's come in. I don't think that it's a bad thing. It's not really a bad thing as long as you're doing what you have to do with the band. There's something else that is helping you to make it better. That's okay. But along with that, now we have an age called the age of remixes. And the age of remixes
Absolutely.
is probably has something to do with the copyright laws. So you change a line or two of the song and nobody can catch you copying an original,
Exactly.
or covering an original. So it has come in again in another way, and bands are sounding excellent now. And there are some classic examples you must be knowing in Goa. The bands that exist now are really, really good, and they're working hard as well. They're working hard
Uh,
as well. But then there are these helps that they find from using computers, maybe, or like now I was sitting here. I am completely a duffer as far as these, being tech savvy is concerned. And somebody from Prudent, he kept saying, "Sir, please connect your audio." I don't know what he's talking about because my tab is there. It's got speakers, but I can't hear it. So then I had to actually get to the bottom of it. Yeah. So if I stayed on now, I would keep learning more. I am learning actually. I had even started learning because we have these effect processors with the band for guitars, which now you connect to your computer, and
yeah.
there are many kind souls who upload many nice things on the internet. And so there I get a nice little guitar patch, which is a guitar sound, and I can sound like Mark Knopfler if I, of course, that is provided I can play like Mark Knopfler, then I can sound like Mark Knopfler. So
Exactly.
just a small example to illustrate that, somebody asked Steve Lukather from Toto, "Steve, can you give me your settings and the units that you use?" And he says, "Yes, I can. I can give you everything from A to Z if you want. But then you're not Steve Lukather, so you'll never sound like."
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, so yeah, we've been through three different kinds of eras in music, and finally, this is what it has evolved to today. And
I wish,
yeah, and we've
sorry,
learned a lot from that. Yeah, we've learned a lot.
yeah. I wish I had some more time to discuss with you. But before we leave, one last question. What's next for Ravi Coutinho?
Frankly, I don't really know what's next for Ravi Coutinho, but I can tell you something. Gardening is something I'd never thought of. And I'm beginning to enjoy my time with plants and the way they respond to how you treat them. And then, yeah, I am a hotel management graduate. So cooking was always a part of, of, of my life to an extent. But it's the creative part of me, that is kept alive from trying to create things. Like you have a dish which is maybe like a butter chicken or something, and then I'm trying a fusion of the butter chicken with a little Italian, a few Italian ingredients and things like. So I play around. I play around. I don't really know what I want to do next, but I know I'm terrified of this pandemic for one thing. And so until that kind of dwindles, I have absolutely no plans. So I'm just looking at things and enjoying my time as it goes along.
When you said about gardening, I must mention, I was reading earlier today, uh, one of the members from the group Rolling Stones, uh, he has been taking active interest in gardening ever since he's been in lockdown due to the pandemic. here we've got Ravi Coutinho, who's doing equally the same. All right. Anyway,
Yeah.
Ravi, we have to say thank you for your time. And friends like me are disappointed that we won't get to see you once again on stage, but definitely, I'm pretty sure with all your experience that you've gathered, okay, and as
Frankly, a
someone
new
posted,
avatar. Maybe you can call it a new avatar waits to awaken.
absolutely, absolutely, okay, and as someone posted, musicians are not government servants, okay, that they retire at the age of 58 or 60. Musicians like you have got so much of talent. You are a legend in your own trade. Having said that, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Frankie.
And
It was
God
a pleasure
bless.
talking to you as well. Thank you.
Thanks.